welcome back to my channel. So today we are here for another corpse party conspiracy theory. This one I found on an app called Amino. I will probably sign up for this because it looks really cool. So this is gonna be a long one, and I'll try to explain it good as possible and try to process it in my brain. So this one is called the Ultimate Corpse Party Theory. Also, this is not mine, by the way, and the theories that I do are not mine at all, so I'm just finding these online, so please don't give me shit for it. These are just theories. I don't know if they're true or not, but tell me what you think down below. Yeah, let's get started. In the teaser, I guess this is by a person named Kishi, who uploaded this 7/19/17, so a year ago. Let's just get right into it. In a teaser, I touch upon some similarities of the Nirvana and blood drive and the environment of the hospital and dead patient. Check it out before reading this, but to summarize the general ideas of being unable to leave supernatural spells that cause people to lose their humanity, and no explanation for how students first arrive are present in both. And it is stated by Aiko that Nirvana takes its form, and therefore it's highly likely the dead patient is set in the new Nirvana. There's pictures as well, but I can't really, yeah. If we see it this way, then Nirvana is still... I'll tell you what the pictures say. So it says, Heavenly Host Elementary, or rather dimensional space that took the form of Heavenly Host Elementary, fascinated me from the moment I introduced it to Naho. I began to research independently and then learned that its true identity is, well, something like the new Nirvana, the new world or Hellcrafter, here, netherworld or hereafter, an otherworldly plane of death. From the book, she created a new Nirvana. Oh, I think it was supposed to go that way. Whoops. Oh well. The principal's heinous actions are to blame, then for the resurrecting the new Nirvana within Sachiko and creating the closed spaces we know as Heavenly Host Elementary. It was seen this way that Nirvana is still alive and never died, although Ayumi was shown to have eaten it by the end of Blood Drive, or rather to have begun eating it. However, in the same dimension as such, then wouldn't this have meant that dead patient isn't a fact of the new Corpse Party game separate from the original series, but rather a continuation of Blood Drive? Corpse Party 2 is the title of most people think that Dead Patient is a new series and new characters. Although Yumi and Shiki are present in the introductory scene, this was released before Blood Drive, which highlighted why Ayumi is in a emotionless state that she's in, and therefore, if Dead Patience is some sort of continuation, it would make sense at the least introductory scene. It would make sense at the least that the conductory scene would pre-planned to fit into the Blood Drive plot. The person who was taping the keyboard opened the inbox and lined the received message. All of the subject line is read: paranormal investigation, spirit world communication, counseling formal. The boy speaks as though he were troubled, yet in a kind tone and very caring. From this we can see Ojiki works as a paranormal investigator and some sort of deciphers any communication spirits are thought to be emitting. Despite all the events, the second panel shows that he's still a sane person, trying to continue whatever of his life that he still has left. Shortly after the description of Yumi and Yoshiki talking to her, there is a quick transition to Ayame in the beginning of the game. Of course, it sounds obvious to say some of those things, but it gets a little trickier from here, which is why I get to the basic context of Blood Drive and Dead Patient out of the way quickly. So the Nirvana was created by Yoshi and her husband Seiji, and was dying from the Shinozaki curse. Yoshi wished for her and her husband to stay together, so create a new dimension with the Book of Shadows by accident, and not releasing that she couldn't change her husband's fate. Yoshi, however, didn't have enough power to sustain the nirvana within her, which caused her a lot of pain and suffering, especially when she realized that she wouldn't be able to see Seiji again, and this memory was wiped from the nature of the nirvana. Sachiko managed to absorb the entirely of the nirvana due to her spiritual potential and being a direct Shinozaki descendant from those who have the Book of Shadows and other powerful spiritual items. She had the power to contain it and stay alive, and then when she was killed, she was able to transport herself into the dimension and control it. I think if Yoshi had died before or longer after Sachiko, she would have not been present in the dimension. However, come the end of book drive, Yumi was able to gain the book's trust as she is a Shinozaki relative. However, she is too far separated from Yoshi's bloodline to have so much power that Sachiko did when she absorbed the nirvana. And as Sachiko had dominated it for so long before blood drive, the size of the dimension increased a ridiculous amount. Without that spiritual capability, this is likely why Yumi had to physically eat the nirvana in order to absorb it. Obviously, the book helped this is possible, but there's no way Yumi could handle that doing and stay alive. Therefore, it explains her state at the end of blood drive, which is as lifelike as a plant or a doll. We wouldn't assume the nirvana went into Yumi's stomach, but being in an entire dimension, it wouldn't pass through the digestive system, so it still might be inside of her. And she's not really a doll or a plant, but by the end of book drive, she is able to have a conscience and can make observations of things around her. However, she's still influenced by the supernatural, as she can see things in the mirror. And here I sat in my own house in Hanoi's room. Sachi's eyes were covered by her bangs. Her expression was impossible to read, and she was unmoving, unreadable, untenable. Book of Shadows can be used to make everybody happy. With the Book of Shadows on my lap, in the corner of the wheelchair, expressionless and empty, will protect everyone just as I myself. Ayumi is also able to speak, although it's nonsense. She isn't really emotionless in every way. But we remember that Sachiko controlled Heavenly Host. She had a complete domination, but she knew what was happening, and that people were going to die and often cause this. Ayumi is in the same position as Sachiko once was. Though I had no desire to kill from what we know, as her death was her decision. You can argue that the positions are completely different, as Sachiko was within Heavenly Host when she died, so this is why she was the host, but just what if Yumi's controlling the nirvana subconsciously? She's not dead, but close to death, and therefore she's not actually within the nirvana, but she's the reason that it exists. Her sole daughter, Sachiko, in possession of nearly limitless spiritual potential, absorbed entirely the new nirvana into her body. The poor girl collapsed to the floor, violently thrashing around, and the weight of the entire dimension crushed her from the insides. This means the power is greater than Yoshi's. It had to be from the curse. For a house, an entire dimension within her body, it's probably because the school and the sight of Sachiko's violent demise that her nirvana took on its form. Note to the panel that says the reason Nirvana became Heavenly Host was because Sachiko had been experienced of being killed there. It's fully possible after all. When Sachiko repented, it was heavily implied that Yuki became the new host, and because Yuki was also killed in the school, the mold of Heavenly Host may have not been changed that much. And when Yuki's new view of Heavenly Host morphing into the haunted elementary school that our main cast saw, it is likely that the only design changes where the school got more gory and festive. Right now I'm free, but I'm not going to last. Soon it'll continue shaping this place just as I always have. Yet in Dead Patient, this is a hospital, so the rule of host shapes of the nirvana is true. Then Ayumi must have shaped it into a hospital. Why? Because she was sent there after the first meddling with the... Why? Because she was sent to one of the first meddling with the Book of Shadows? Because she was given Hanoi's last wish in a hospital? I should clarify that most definitely is not the same hospital, since Kisaragi was in Fujisawa and the hospital in Dead Patient is in Fumizuki, which are in completely different parts of Japan. Furthermore, it could have been that Ayumi went to the hospital before getting stuck in Heavenly Host. It is said that the day before this occurred, she had gotten results from an amnesia test that turned out positive. She would have needed to have gone to the hospital for that. And while we're on the subject, I think it's time to talk about the protagonist of Dead Patient, Ayame Ito. Went to the hospital because she had class from anemia. We did say anemia test turned out positive, my bad. You were plagued by fatigue at school in the middle of class. You suddenly collapsed from anemia. Sorry, but I don't really think it's a coincidence that 2 protagonists from the corresponding series have anemia. But we'll move on that at the end of the theory. There's a reason the form of the Nirvana is significant. To touch up upon that form, it takes not as a potential torrential rain, cracked floorboards, darkened souls, or set mechanics in the Nirvana to begin with. There's something that the host personalizes to fit the form. Ayumi's conscience is clearly referring back to the heavenly host and what it was like there. Her mumbling speech from the end of book Blood Drive shows that she remembers what she did and was trying to save everyone. She cannot forget what happened. It's permanently carved into her memory, and she is likely traumatized to that she continues to think about it. It plays in her mind over and over and over. Just like how people die in Nirvana die over and over again, like a time loop without fail. Once someone's fate passes through these halls and locks in this place forever, and the way you'll die just keeps getting worse and worse every time. We have all the time in the world to savor all new, unspeakable ways your friend can die. So the clear difference here is that the characters in Dead Patient are clearly not the Kisaragi characters, and Ayumi would have not known that, as she did not meet them and share their memories of the Nirvana. This is the part why I'm intentionally grateful for Aiko Niwa, because she says a lot of shit in the Blood Drive scene that doesn't really make a lot of sense at first, or is irrelevant to some form, without context anyways. Those who bear such objects will be visited by spirits within, or created, or at least to be forever privy to their memories and earthly landments. It's a wonderful thing. This part in particular, I guess, what is suggesting that you can gain memories from having these stones with you. The stones are directly linked to the Nirvana, so it makes sense. But Yumi swallowed the entire goddamn thing, so if she was in the possession of the After Stone, she would potentially have access memories to every single soul that died in the dimensional space, and she most likely has potential to them. The blue-white stones were tossed into the air, where they danced around before tumbling back down, for they are my precious ever-after stones. As Nirvana is still within her, I don't think there could be possibly new people within there unless there were supernatural experts, but even so, I don't think it's possible considering nobody's shown the Nirvana when it was consumed within Sachiko. So it very well could be Ayumi's constantly visiting by the spirits within her. The baton of the Guardian had been passed down from generation to the next, and somewhere in this world she must still bear it, protecting all of us undercover that night. Hold a protector of power in your heart. It seems from this and Ayumi's babbling that Ayumi is concealing the Nirvana away, so it would be very surprised if anybody new could enter the Nirvana. Like I said before, Sachiko did not have complete control over the Nirvana. Her spiritual power enabled her to be present in the Nirvana when she died and physically change the states of people within her whenever she wanted. Ayumi likely is not able to act as the ruler of the Nirvana, but could mostly be observing in her state. Speaking of life status, she's teetering. Though she has a conscience, I don't believe has a lot of sense in order to control the Nirvana as well anyway. And with all those souls has the memories acquired combined with traumatizing events she's experienced would be extremely overwhelming. Therefore, what is possible in Dead Patient, and what I think concludes the theory, is that Ayumi is muddled in her own memories with the characters and memories from all the souls she's absorbed, to an extent that it creates an illusion of a complete new situation and game, when it really is a continuous of what happened after Blood Drive, but still from Ayumi's perspective within her mind. Here's a few comparisons to show the unbelievably similar everything is. Ow, my back's hurting, I'm sorry. So I did not mention the coincidence that Ayumi and Ayame are both struggling with anemia. At the same time, they're within the Nirvana. A symptom of anemia is a shortness of breath, which made Ayumi's hyperventilating and heavenly host got worse. A lot worse. When Ayame makes loud wheezing sounds when she runs out of breath in the game. Also, their names are very similar. Not only do they sound pretty much the same, they're both written in simple hiragana, unlike majority of the Japanese names, Ayumi and then Yame, you know how to do in Japanese, whatever. With Ayumi's jumbled memories, it's very possible that she could have messed up her own name. And yes, I am blatantly implying that they think that they're the same person. I mean, it just happens that Ayami has no memories of herself, and this is never explained. And by the end of the game, her heart pretty much looks part of the nirvana which Ayumi contains within herself. I also don't know anything about myself except for my name. Just like in Dead Patients Around You, could you please not give us a shiftless friends? Whenever she gets scared, she will let out a odd squeaky scream. Ayame may have bad experience with horror films and haunted house in her past, and she responds poorly to scary situations. Have obtained in Corpse Party 2 Dead Patient Trial version limited C883 costume. It contains a special costume from Ayame and altered hairstyle. Her color, school uniform presenters to resemble Ayumi Shinozaki. First 2 panels, something from another website thingy. I mean, there's a lot of other characters I could have made a costume for, but it had to be Ayumi, huh? They also had the issues with their stomachs in some form since Ayumi got her period and Ayumi had some sort of diarrhea, but I don't think there's screenshots for that, right? Take my word on it. That's what it says. The appearance of characters can change too, as Satoshi notes in the previous game. Every one of us who made it back from Melbourne experienced some sort of physical change. Guess it's just all the side effects of going through that hell. And from this perspective, that was after 1 or 2 loops. After 5 years worth of time loops, it's perfectly reasonable that Yumi look completely different in her nirvana. The plot is eerily similar too. We can see the hospital was completely normal until a tragic event occurred. Some pictures of someone helping someone up and then falling into it. What seems to be a mother and daughter both falling to their deaths as we could end up falling to their deaths, and we could interpret, I don't know what that word says, the mother throwing her daughter to her death as well, as Yoshi being the reason that Sachiko was killed. If Sachiko hadn't walked upon seeing her mother getting thrown down the stairs by the principal, note that was an accident, she wouldn't have been killed with her. We also track back to Sachiko absorbing the nirvana to save her mother from leaving her, when in reality this made the situation much worse. Another seeming pointless scene in Dead Patient is Ayami and Ritsuko watch a woman being held before she's beaten to death. Oh, okay. As shown, this could reference to both of Mayu's deaths, when she went splatter against a wall and the ghosts were playing with her insides. And of course there aren't many characters that died in Dead Patients, so why Ritsuko was automatically a journalist, it doesn't really make sense to me, considering one of the other adults in Corpse Party is Taguchi, who is a cameraman. There's a lot of occupations to choose from. Ritsuko also has some traits of Morishige within the Nirvanas, such as the feeling to get footage of corpses and not believing in supernatural whatsoever. I have to record this, I feel bad, but this is just a scoop. Click. The corpse contains... The dead is coming to life. Ghosts, I don't believe in them. Just this abnormal situation in my camera. My camera companion broke. The person I love in the center of my heart, the person I love is disappearing. I'm now empty. Something about a camera. I'm just reading what the picture says. Those last 2 panels particularly strongly panel Morishige's feelings after he wakes from jumping out of a window in Book of Shadows to find Mayu was dead. Oh my god. When Ritsuko is busy looking at the corpse, a man walks up behind her and strikes her on the head, like how Yoshiki was looking at Ayumi running away from Mayu's corpse when Yoshikazu arrives. In the terms of memory, I think Yoshikazu is one of the providers who provided for this scene, and Yoshiki is still alive, and therefore Ayumi does not have this memory installed within the Nirvana in the degree. Someone dying, and then fucking yeah. And then there's a scene where the big guy comes in to be burnt in order to be killed off, and of course in Blood Covered, when the model gets burnt, doesn't work and ends up getting a wrong end. But still, in Yumi's perspective, this could have happened in any of the loops. And the thing is about time loops, all the wrong ends are technically canon if you want them to be. A miscellaneous comparison that I will throw in this. The music is driving me crazy. Something about, yeah. You can't see it in the screenshot, but they both have in common to make music where you need to go near. In Dead Patient, nobody's a reaction to the poll whatsoever. So it's completely useless, but it plays music for whatever reason, if only to mimic the form of the Nirvana. Moving on a little more to the characters, and more specifically the dialogue of the characters, Chiyomi first, who of course has a unique way of speaking, she doesn't have shame, therefore the scene between her Ayame that likely parallels to an argument Seiko and Naomi had. I was so scared, geez, had something feel like there's a breeze fluttered. Leave me alone, damn it. I thought that would calm me down. Even more, the short part of Tomoshiro screams at Ayame before running in is similar to Seiko's death in Book of Shadows. Wow. There is also a lot of references to Kazami, who associated himself with likely over 25 people during this time of Heavenly Host. Because of the terrible bump on the back of my head, things from being beaten unconscious by a bar or something. Perhaps if you find another exit. Why does it say I was betrayed by you, your appearance, your contents are fucking dull, wipe your head, pretty, blah blah blah. Something from screenshots already. The first panel references the Morishige in the anime. The subliminals stretch far. I include the second panel as some sort of reference of all the Byakudans who most likely managed to end up in the same space somehow. The last 4 panels could also not be seeming to reference Kazami, but Misuto, since he ended up being part of the main antagonist in the blood drive and you could believe being betrayed by him. There's also some kinds of Mayushige reference in the characters of those two. She's just a classmate with childhood friends. Oh, they're cute. And finally, about the dimension itself. A tragedy happened in the building and needs to be covered up. There's only a large amount of hospital which wants to cover up a scandal, right? And they're not comparable. I cannot allow you to tell another living soul about what I did to you. I'm so afraid you're going to have to fix it. You can never say another word again. Hereby my shirt took Sachiko by basement and buried her. Probably saying my death was an accident. Reporter is missing. Oh. I was like... Because he raped Yoshi, yeah. The principal in the first game. Sorry. I was getting distracted. The significant parts of Dead Patient plot occurred is when essentially the new infirmary, so this is likely the scene that Yoshi created in Nirvana. It's always significant in any form. I think we should go to the nurse station. The nurse station communicate with the outside lights on there. I think you can go up back on my own. Send a class if you could around, that'd be fine. This is the sounds of a weather strip, blah blah blah. I won't open the door. Weight must have moved in front of it. Rito-san. It also recreates Naomi's experience in the infirmary and the gas and represents the darkening. And I've run out of image space but there's many more comparisons, including references to Miss Yui in the scene of Ayumi and Yoshiki. Yoshiki debating return to Heavenly Host after being saved by Yuki and blood covered, and even the shape of some parts, I'm pretty sure. Dead Patient, I saw a corridored wall jutting out of it, and maybe thought it looked like Mayu's corpse should be on that wall. I'd be interested for you all to play the game and see the parallels in some ways, the far-fetched theories, but the further I go into Dead Patient, the more I believe that Yumi's hosting the Nirvana inside of her, and it feeds off everything she's been going through, all the memories, those inside that she required, even through the Ever After sense. I'm particularly looking forward to the reboot of Dead Patient and seeing if we're right in any way, but I can definitely tell you that Dead Patient plot is a full continuous of what occurs in Blood Drive, not because the original games are in it for the cutscene or two, but the elements this has been the ultimate corpse party theory if you like this, somehow, yeah. So, that is finally it. I'm so sorry that it took so long. I was trying to figure out some things. But I hope you all otakus enjoyed. If you're new to my channel, love it as much as you do, be sure to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. Also hit the bell to next videos, which is daily. Be sure to watch Asman play Corpse Party because it's amazing. I love you guys. Thank you for everything. And I'll see you all you talkies later. Bye-bye.